And hello, and welcome back. Welcome back to Choose Happiness. Choose you. I'm Dr. Natalie, and I'm excited to be here today. I'm so excited to be part of the global Win-Win Women movement, in which we reach out to women across the globe, talk with you, serve, connect, because together we're stronger. I'm excited to be here, especially today, because I get to share with you some other ideas about choosing you, choosing happiness, and all the various aspects that are connected to it. Of course, if you have any questions, we'll get to them. Don't you worry about it. We'll get to your questions. I want to start out with just sharing a story, also an experience that I've had just recently, as it ties into today's topic. Choose your recognition. You know, years ago, I wrote an article about the 3 R's: relationship, respect, and recognition. And those 3 R's have stuck with me, and they keep coming back up in everything that I do as a transformational mentor. Speaking, being a guest on shows, having my own shows, and of course, when I work with my clients. It really is the base for just about everything that we experience. And in my world, of course, choose to experience. So the first R is relationship, the second R is respect, and the third R is recognition. Today, I want to see how I can tie that together in just a short little presentation thought sharing with you. So, story first. Think about a situation where you knew you were going to get recognized. This can be at work, this can be in your personal life, doesn't really matter. But you know, for one reason or another, you were going to be recognized. You know, at work, you might get recognized by being called up in front of all the other employees, all of your colleagues, and you'll get a certificate. At work, you might also get a special announcement, a celebration for a certain achievement that you have done, or if you get promoted. And the same goes in some ways for our personal lives. We might get recognition for, let's say, a great renovation in the house, or a wonderful dinner we cooked, or rearranging the house, doing homework with the kids, in our studies. There are lots of ways in we get recognition. And I happen to believe that we all do need and desire recognition. As much as I'm a proponent, a believer, and a practitioner of self-love, it still sometimes is nice to get that little extra supportive recognition, that pat on the shoulder from somebody else. It doesn't mean we can't live without it. It just means that it adds to our personal happiness, to our experience. And so when we're thinking about recognition and the right type of recognition for us, we have to, of course, first understand our relationship with ourselves. If you don't know yourself, then that's a little challenge that I would recommend you work on. However, in general, we know how we are, we know what we do and don't like. That's the higher level, or the surface level, I should say, when it comes to our relationship with ourselves. So imagine you know you're going to be recognized. Now think about it for a moment. What is the way that you like to be recognized? Do you actually want that being paraded up in front of all of your colleagues and getting a certificate, either a small paper one or a big one, is that something that makes you feel good? Does it add to your happiness? Or are you embarrassed by it? Would you rather not go up front? That is something you'll need to consider. And if you prefer, for example, the more private recognition. Now, you've done a great job at work. You've done a great job in your university studies. You've done a great job rearranging the house, but you don't need a big celebration. Maybe you're more like me, and if somebody comes around and says, hey, good job, or says, looks really awesome, I wanted to let you know that it's appreciated, maybe that's enough. Well, okay. If that person hands you a little gift card for your favorite coffee shop, I wouldn't say no, because I love my coffee. That's a different way of being recognized. So you need to figure out, yes, you do need to figure out what works for you. In one of my books about this type of stuff, where I'm actually talking mostly to the healthcare industry, I'm pointing out some of these things as well. Because the recognition, whenever we're dealing with teams, whenever we're dealing with teams, which can be a family or in business, we need to understand everybody in that team, their likes, their preferences, and their dislikes. So you have a relationship with yourself, either surface level or deep, you know what type of recognition you enjoy. Awesome. Next step. You know you're going to get recognized. You know you get recognized in that way that you do not like. For example, let's just say you prefer the private recognition, so you know you're going to get recognized, maybe with a huge award up on stage, maybe you're a speaker. Recognition, one of the best speakers of the world, you get that. You know you're going to have to walk up there. You know you're going to have to probably say something. You have to react somehow. And it is something that you do not enjoy. Now, what is your action? What are you going to choose at that point? And this is a really crucial question because we can answer it in a number of ways, which is why I wanted to bring this topic to you today. Remember, we're talking about choosing happiness and choosing you. So the quick answer to my question is, of course, I don't like the way of being recognized. I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be calling in sick. I won't be there. That's the easy way. Of course, I know it's not that easy because in that, what we also, of course, have to deal with is explaining why we're not there, maybe making up a little bit of a story, and that goes into muddy waters that we don't necessarily want to get into. Yet, that would be the spontaneous answer. I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing my happiness. I'm choosing not to be there because it is not what I enjoy. I don't want to put myself through it. Awesome. Choice number one, done. Then there's choice number two. Choice number two is a little different because you're still choosing you. You're still, of course, choosing your happiness. Yet you don't want to just react. You also want to consider what's going on since you already knew that was happening. So you knew this was happening. You could make a statement, right? When the time comes for you to be asked up on stage and you really don't want it, or asked to be in front of the people to get your certificate, or be called out while you're trying to hide in your cubicle or hide behind the tree in a hotel, whatever it might be, you could make a statement showing everybody that, no, this is not the way I want to be recognized. which means that the party starts, everybody's ready, they're calling your name, and you are going to look up and walk out. That's option number 2. You would probably walk out a couple of seconds before they call your name when you know it's getting to that point. You can do that because you're choosing you and you're choosing your own happiness, your own comfort level. Absolutely. And in that statement, you're obviously also showing everybody this is not okay with me. Compared to choice number 1, this is a bit more drastic. This is a bit more drastic because you might actually hurt some people in the room. You know, not like physically, but you might actually hurt some people in the room who possibly wanted to do something nice for you. It is a statement, though, that you absolutely have the right to make because it is your recognition. I've done both of those, absolutely. And I've also done number 3, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So choice number 1, you're just not going to show up. You have the right to do that. If that is your choice, perfectly fine. Number 2, a little more drastic, you're going to make a statement with that. You're going to show everybody that that is not the way that you recognize me if you really care about me. When you do that, when you choose number 2 in a sense, then like I said, you may inadvertently, maybe consciously, maybe purposely, but in one way or another, you're probably going to hurt some of the people who made the arrangements for this. You have the absolute right to do that because it is about you. Okay, tricky. Number 3, door number 3, or choice number 3. And this is, number 3 is what we're going to have to talk a bit more about since it may not be as easily understood why it is actually choosing you. But remember, we're talking about the 3 R's, okay? So number 3 is, you know it's coming, you're in the room, you're being paraded up front in one way or another, you're there, you're smiling, and you're accepting the recognition, you're smiling, and if you have to say something, it's very short, it's like, oh, thank you so much, and you sit back down. That is choice number 3. Or, you know, if it's at home, of course, it wouldn't be paraded up, but it'd be like, okay, thank you so much. It doesn't really make a difference whether you're at home, whether you're private or in business, because the relationships, the respect, and the recognition is all the same. They have the same importance in all 3 of these options. So with number 3 now, why would you choose that? If we're talking about choosing you, choosing happiness, why would you choose to engage in something that you really don't like? Well, that partially goes back to number 2, choice number 2. Remember how we said in choice number 2, you might actually hurt some people in the process? Well, if you don't want to hurt those people, you can't choose number 2. So choice number 3 is the one where you have most of it, except for your privacy. Well, we'll have to deal with that. However, you do have the recognition. You do get paraded up. And in return for tolerating or playing along, you're not being fake and putting on a huge show saying, thank you so much, this is so awesome. No, because that would be fake. You don't want to lie, just like in number 1, you didn't want to lie. So you're not faking it. You're not over-engaging. You're not making it more than it is. You're simply tolerating, accepting, respecting the others who tried to do something for you. They just weren't educated enough to know what you actually like. And then you don't say a lot, you sit back. With choice number 3, you actually get 3 things. 1, you choose you because you're respecting yourself to not engage too much. Number 2, you're choosing your own happiness, which is tied to you accepting and respecting the others, as well as to the fact that you're not hurting, but actually gifting those who organize this as well. And of course, that might at the same time be the toughest, because you have to be there. You have to be recognized. You have to play along to some degree with something that you really don't like. Yet, it's a compromise, right? It's a compromise where you're receiving and accepting the recognition that does sometimes make us feel good or better or adds to our happiness, while you're also giving back at the same time to those who organized all of that. So that might be a win-win situation. However, the choice of 1, 2, 3 is completely up to you. You have the right to select any of those. If you have more, just let me know. If you have more options, let me know. Maybe I'm not thinking deep enough or far enough into this, but I've given it a lot of thought. And those were the 3 main choices that I came up with. And in all of that, in number 3, you also, well, in all 3, but in number 3, really, you also have the opportunity to reflect and to take responsibility for your relationship, not just with yourself, but with the others, and respect them for their effort. While you're doing that, following or even preceding that celebration and recognition of your achievements, you have the opportunity to address your relationship with those who organize this. You actually have the opportunity, because of this recognition situation, to talk to them and say, you know what? Really appreciate what you're trying to do here. I'm just not really into that. I really don't like it that much. By the time that you address it, it might be too late. Maybe all the plans have already been made. Then you'll still tolerate, respect, and go along with it. Hopefully not. Your choice. Or if it's afterwards, because for some reason you couldn't talk to the organizers beforehand, you can bring it up to them afterwards and say, I know you put a lot of work into that, really appreciate it, was really special. Should I ever come up for recognition again, could we maybe do that a little different? The fact that you have time to reflect and address it is actually wonderful. And it's easier to do that in choice number 3 because of the relationships that are involved. And when you address it in the relationship with whoever organized the recognition, be it your brother at home, be it your boss, your supervisor at work, doesn't matter. You get a chance to address it and clarify. Of course, it also is true that in a great team, there is something about other people knowing your preferences. So in a family situation, I would hope, and I know that doesn't always happen, we just say I hope, that they would know what I prefer. They would know what you prefer. and adhere to that, respect that. At work, it's a little tougher. Having trained a lot of team building, there's definitely room to address those preferences and to work them into our daily interactions at work. Yet we know that does not always happen, especially in the workplace. In the workplace, very often it is, people get a certificate, that's what we do. That's the corporate world very often. Now, your direct team leader or supervisor might know your preferences, might try to say something, might warn you about it, and might actually give you like the little coffee gift certificate. Okay. Yet there are limits at times what they can do. The preferences are important then. And you being able to voice your preferences is also crucial. So when it comes to recognition, the question I posed in the beginning was, how do you like to be recognized? Do you know that? And then the next question really has to be not necessarily what choice are you going to make in the scenario. The question really becomes, do the people around you know your preference? Or are you expecting them to know? Are you anticipating that they should know? Those expectations, they don't work. I can guarantee you that they don't work unless you voice it out loud and possibly have to say it 2 or 3 or 4 times. It's definitely not going to ever work. So you can't just assume. You actually have to understand what is happening. And therefore, we're going to have to figure out how to make this work for you. You know how you like to be recognized? Have you shared with others how you like to be recognized? Step number 3, if they have, are they respecting you and their relationship with you enough to adhere to that? Or are there limits, are there guidelines that prevent them from? Or you also have the option that they simply forgot. And the recognition that is for you is really more about them showcasing what they can do and how much they put into you getting that recognition. That's no longer about you. Or maybe they just forgot your preference. You see, when we know our preference, we often end up judging others when they don't respect our preferences. Yet, since we're co-creating our lives, our happiness, it's really on us to go back and say, hey, how does that work? Did you know? Did you not know? If you did know, how come? If you didn't know, guess what? Then you can have a fruitful conversation about this, a conversation that can clear up any misunderstandings or any lack of information so that you can come together and that then you can actually say, next time we do a recognition, it's going to look a little different. Or your supervisor might come to you and say, got another recognition come up. I know we talked about this. What do you want to do? I got to put on this event and parade you up front of people. What do you want to do about it? It changes the relationship. It deepens the respect, and it allows you to be recognized as the unique individual that you are. And in either one of those situations, you have 3 ways, at least 3 ways, in which you can act based on the recognition, advertisement, information, invitation. You can skip it. You can make a statement, You can play along. You have the right to either of those because it's your recognition. And yet, what are the benefits of picking one over the other? And how will that directly impact your relationship with yourself, with the other or others, your respect for yourself, respect for the others, and of course, the way that you are going to be recognized from now forward. As you can see, all of those are tied to choosing you and thereby being you and choosing your happiness. For some of us, if we're reacting too drastically, we're not going to be comfortable. For some of us, if we're not drastic and making that statement, we're not going to be comfortable. So we got to choose the response that is right for us. And if we don't have a forewarning that this type of recognition is going to happen, then you got to decide on a dime, impromptu. Yet we've talked about that. So in your brain, in your conscious mind, you can pull it up and you can say, we talked about that. This is happening right now. What choices do I have? What choice do I want to make and why? So it's all about you. It's all about choosing your happiness because you deserve it. And because I really want you to be able to live your life your way. For that, you have to have a good relationship with yourself and know what matters to you. And obviously, I'd love to talk in more detail with you about being you. And there are two ways in which I invite you to do that one-on-one with me, for example. I do offer a one-on-one call, one-on-one private, facilitating some major breakthroughs. I can guarantee that because that's what I hear every time. 1, 2, 3 major breakthroughs in about an hour and a half of us talking about where you are in life, what's limiting you, and what action steps to take. Or, of course, you can also see my online course, Be You, Revolutionize Your Performance. It's all about you. It's about your performance at work. It's about the performance at home. It's about the performance judgment that we have on ourselves. It's not about sports or fitness. It's about your relationship with yourself. And that's, of course, an 8-week course, all online. You do it at your own pace, and you do get time with me to talk about your ahas, your questions. Both of those are in our store, and I invite you to take a look at it. Since you're here, those might actually be the stepping stone for you to clear some limiting beliefs, to return to yourself, and then go on with you being you, having chosen you, and being happy. Because that's the choice that you made and the choice that you get to make every single day. Isn't that awesome? The power we have to create, the power we have to choose. So I choose to be here every week. And I look forward to talking to you about your questions, your thoughts, and I look forward to serving and guiding you towards your next goal. That matters to me. And that's what I choose. I shall see you next time. The topic will be fascinating, but I won't tell you what it is. I shall see you then. And until then, keep thinking about how you like to be recognized. Because I'm recognizing you as a unique individual who deserves to be happy.